The donghua begins with an aerial view of the city of Feisty. In that city lived a man named Wu Minglu who liked to deceive people. That day Minglu tricked his friend in his class while they were gambling. He jumped out of the window and stole their money while mocking them. Without realizing it, behind him there was a male teacher who caught him and brought him to the teacher's room. The teacher then asked why he played gambling in class. Minglu replied calmly that he wanted to be rich. Hearing Minglu's answer, the teacher told him to write 5,000 words and kicked him out of his room. Unbeknownst to him, a mysterious man was watching him when Minglu came out of the room. In the evening, Minglu finished his freelance work and went home immediately. On the way, he saw a silver clock tower in Feisty, which was the residence of the rich. It turned out that all this time, Minglu had been collecting money so he could live with the rich people in the tower. As Minglu was walking home, some red karma followed him because they smelled evil from his body. Suddenly karma appears in front of Minglu. He is surprised to see it. Then came a man named Julien who attacked the karma and said to Minglu that he was the Guardian of Feisty. They regard Minglu as a criminal because of all his evil behavior that causes karma to come. When the crimes are many, karma will become a giant monster. Julien then gave Minglu a crime meter. There is a green line indicating the person is not evil. The yellow line means the person is evil and karma will follow that person, while the red line means the person is dangerous, so he must kill him. Julien's job is to protect those with yellow stripes from karma and make them good people again. While they were talking, the karma and Minglu ran away, leaving Julien, so he tried to chase Minglu. Suddenly some stray dogs attacked Julien so Minglu could escape again. Arriving home, Minglu put the money he got into his piggy bank. Suddenly came the gigantic karma that entered through his bedroom window and wanted to attack him. When Minglu had a hard time dealing with the karma, Julien only saw him from the roof of his house because he was still annoyed with Minglu's attitude earlier. After Minglu was cornered because of a lot of small karma that attacked him, he apologized to Julien and asked for his help, and he promised to obey all of Julien's words. Hearing these words, Julien went down to help Minglu and managed to eradicate the small karma and prepare to fight the giant karma. Julien explained that giant karma is very powerful because it has absorbed too much negative energy from someone's body. Minglu asked Julien not to fight there as many people will get hurt, so the two provoked the karma to follow them to an abandoned building. Minglu devised a plan to destroy the building so that the karma was buried in the ruins of the building. Minglu knows all the points that can collapse the building. He puts an X at each point so Julien can destroy it. After Julien finishes destroying the X mark, he loses track of Minglu and finds only the evil gauge. It turned out that Minglu trapped Julien inside the building so that Julien and the karma would be buried in the ruins of the building while he was already outside the building. Minglu was happy that he managed to trick Julien, but soon Julien was able to get out of the ruins of the building without being injured and was very angry at Minglu's treatment of him. Julien said if he wasn't assigned to protect Minglu, he would have killed him by now. Julien then asks about Minglu's promise that he will follow his words, but Minglu simply says that he never promised him anything. Julien, who felt very angry, issued his Pinocchio Curse, which every time Pinocchio lies, his nose would get longer. However, every time Minglu lies then, his genital will grows longer. Hearing this, Minglu panicked and asked him to withdraw the curse. It turns out that Julien is just teasing Minglu because when he lies, his hair grows longer. Minglu asks how to make the curse disappear. Julien said the curse would disappear after the person who deceived him forgave him. While Minglu was sleeping, he dreamed of a boy asking his brother to play with a hoarse voice. Then he woke up from sleep to get ready for school, but he was surprised to see Julien cooking in his kitchen to make breakfast. Julien explained that while he was in charge of protecting and monitoring Minglu, he couldn't be more than 100 meters away, so he decided to stay at Minglu's house. Minglu ignored Julien's words and immediately went to school. But when he was walking, suddenly he seemed to hit a wall so he couldn't continue his steps because he and Julien were already 100 meters away. Seeing this, Julien just laughed happily. Minglu then begged him to go to school with him because he would be late. Arriving at school, Minglu apologized to all his friends on who he had cheated. Then a female student approached Minglu and asked why he was talking alone, and Minglu explained that he was chatting with his friend, Julien. But she couldn't see where Julien was, so Minglu lied to cover it up, and his hair grew longer because he didn't tell the truth. At night, a lot of karma appears to attack Minglu, so Julien has to fight against those karmas. After the fight, Julien explained that all the karma that attacked Minglu was still weak compared to the karma that resembled a human form. On the other hand, there is a man named Getta with his karma about to enter Feisty. Arriving home, Julien reads out Minglu's crime report and says he just needs to apologize to someone one more time and the curse will be removed. When Julien laid down, he thought about why Minglu was considered a criminal when he only made a small mistake. Shortly after, Julien got a phone call telling him that ultimate karma was attacking Feisty, so the guardians on duty were asked to immediately gather there and end their mission. That meant the guardians had to kill the person they were protecting. When Julian was about to kill Minglu, he remembers when he told a man that he hated humans because they always come to gods when they are in trouble. But when they are happy, they forget about the gods. The man replied that it was a task he had to do with all his heart because the bad people were lost, so Julian should be able to give them a chance to become good people again. Remembering the man's advice, Julian didn't kill Minglu. He told Minglu to quickly apologize to the last person. Therefore, Julian takes Minglu to the house of his male teacher However, when Minglu apologizes, Mr. Wen doesn't believe his words and punishes him for writing 5,000 words of apology. Minglu agrees but asks permission to write it at his teacher's house. Julian waited for Minglu outside Mr. Wen's house because he couldn't stay away from Minglu for more than 100 meters away. Then Getta appeared behind Julian. Meanwhile, at Mr. Wen's house, Minglu has finished his sentence, but Mr. Wen still doesn't believe Minglu's sincerity, so he asks him to rewrite it again. While outside, Julian faces Getta and says he wants to play with him. But Julian, who couldn't believe it, attacked him with his punch. Getta, who felt angry, issued a small amount of karma to attack him, and the karma had enough power that Julian felt overwhelmed. Julian issued a giant his Pinocchio that was able to defeat the small karma, but Getta issued a giant karma that made Julian lose badly. While at Wen's house, Minglu was constantly asked to rewrite his apology again. He saw Julian's condition outside the house through the window. He was surprised to see Julian was being attacked by some karma. Minglu apologized to Mr. Wen, but he still wouldn't forgive him. Minglu, who was very upset, then beat Mr. Wen until he fainted. After that, he ran out to meet Julian. Arriving outside the house, Minglu saw Julian, who was already helpless. Getta told Minglu that he wanted to play with him too, but Minglu ignored him. Getta goes to Minglu and says that the Guardians are just a puppet created from a god's artifact as their battery while showing Julian's god's stone that he had taken. Minglu asks Getta to return the divine artifact to Julian, but when he tries to retrieve it, it turns out to be so hot that Minglu's hand burns. Minglu asked why he did that to Julian, and Getta said because Julian hit him when he was playing with him. Minglu then hit Getta and ran to take Julian to his apartment. Arriving at the apartment, Getta appears behind them, then Minglu runs towards the roof of the apartment, carrying Julian's body, but Getta manages to stab Minglu until his blood drips down Julian's face. When they were on top of the apartment, Getta looked at the silver clock tower while saying it was his real destination. Suddenly Julian wakes up because of Minglu's blood, but he has a different personality. He even invited Getta to work together to destroy the tower. Julian thanked Getta for removing the god artifact because he could use another personality now. After Getta trusted him, Julian attacked Getta so hard that he cut off his arm. But Getta changes his form, and Julian introduces his second personality as a woman named Mariani, who is famous for being a fraud guardian. Hearing these words, Getta recalled his past when he approached a woman named Mariani who was sitting on a swing. It seemed that he had a bad past with her. When other guardians came to the place, Julian took Minglu away while Getta was caught by the guardian with a seal. But Getta, who is the ultimate karma, is not a worthy opponent for the guardians because he can create karma to attack them even though his body is confined. The karma attacked the guardians while Getta was evolving. Shortly afterward, came the ultimate karma of a woman named Xiao Sharon, which stopped Getta's evolution process because it was too dangerous. Sharon took Getta away because their teacher was looking for him. Sharon apologized to them for the mess that Getta had made, but she actually still wanted the guardians to die. Elsewhere, Julian and Minglu managed to get out of there. Julian asked Minglu to enter the divine artifact so that his personality returned to normal. But before Minglu put the artifact into his body, he advised not to tell anyone about Mariani's appearance. Minglu thanked Mariani's personality, and Julian disappeared for a while. Elsewhere, when Sharon and Getta are traveling on a flying carpet, Sharon says that Getta must be able to control his emotions and always take the medicine she gives. It is revealed that Getta wants to go to the Silver Clock Tower to find out about his past. When Julian's body was found, Minglu took him to a hospital in Feisty. But Minglu found it strange that all the relevant departments in the city didn't care about the chaos that had occurred. It turned out that the Guardians had told all the departments in the city to keep whatever was going on there a secret. 3 days passed, and Julian was still hospitalized. However, Minglu, who was outside the hospital, complained that Julian's treatment costs were very expensive because he paid all of these costs using money from his savings. This made him want to collect all his money from Julian when he recovered. Suddenly a luxury black car stopped behind him. Then a man gets out of the car to kidnap Minglu. In the car, an old man was sitting opposite him. Minglu felt strange because he and Julian were already more than 100 meters away, but nothing happened. Until they arrived in front of a luxurious mansion, and the old man said that he was just a caretaker of the mansion, while the person who wanted to meet Minglu was the mansion owner. When Minglu opened the mansion door, he was greeted by several beautiful girls who called him young master. At the same time, Julian seemed to have realized and looked for Minglu's whereabouts by running away from the hospital. At the mansion, Minglu meets a man named Oz, the owner of the mansion and the vice president of the largest company in Feisty City named Erasure. Even their family was one of the founders of the Silver Clock building. Currently, their family is having a problem because Oz's older brother died about 3 years ago. He left all his wealth to his son, but his son disappeared. So based on city regulations, all of his family's wealth will be inherited by the city government of Feisty. Oz asks Minglu for help disguised as his nephew, but Minglu says that Oz's action is a scam. It turns out that Oz knows Minglu is also known as a fraud and he is collecting money to be able to live in the Silver Clock Tower, so Oz will reward him and make him stay in the tower. Minglu then asks why he chose him to carry out his plan. Oz explains that Minglu has a resemblance to his nephew. Unexpectedly, Minglu refuses Oz's offer and chooses to leave his mansion. Seeing this, Oz was angry and ordered all the beautiful women to kill Minglu by shooting a bazooka at him. Fortunately, Julian came. Unexpectedly, Julian's presence was not to help Minglu, but he wanted to ask for his crime measurement tool. Because if the tool disappears, then Julian will be punished by the surveillance system. The tool fell from Julian's pocket while the two of them were being chased by Getta. Since the device had disappeared, the 100-meter distance system between them was no longer valid. While the two of them were having an argument, Julian was attacked by one of the girls in the mansion. But he didn't fight her, and chose to run away with Minglu to hide. While hiding, Julian remembers when Minglu was helping him from being chased by Getta. He then asked if the two of them were now friends and Minglu replied that they were friends. Hearing Minglu's answer, Julian emerged from his hiding place to protect Minglu. But at that time, Julian was cornered because the surveillance system didn't allow a guardian to harm humans, so he couldn't attack them. When the girls provoked his anger, Julian used all his strength to attack them. But Minglu takes him away from there to avoid a fight. The girls continued to chase them, so Julian shot his gun at the roof of the wall so the debris could block them. But it actually made Julian and Minglu trapped behind the ruins. Shortly after, Julian made a video call with Oz using one of the women's cell phones. He threatens Oz that if he doesn't release them, the system will send their guardians, who are not bound by the rules because they are allowed to attack and kill humans. The guardian was a legendary man named Ivan. Oz replied that he was not afraid of Julian's threat and challenged the guardian to come. Elsewhere, there is Ivan, who is getting a task from the system to punish Julian because he has removed the crime meter before long. Ivan arrived in front of Oz's mansion and was surrounded by the guards with the mansion's guns. But with one attack, Ivan was able to beat them until they were blown away. When Julian found out that Ivan had arrived, he panicked because he knew that Ivan's purpose in coming was to punish him, while his words to Oz were only to threaten him. Julian tells Minglu to do whatever it takes to escape from there until they both raise their hands as a sign of truce to the women. Ivan, who was sent by the system, was not only ordered to arrest Julian, but he would simultaneously capture the owner of the mansion and all those involved in the chaos. Even though the Oz family was one of the founders of the Silver Clock Tower, their highest law was the Feisty city control system, so they must obey the rules of Feisty. Julian told all the women to get out of there. The female servant leader named Aruba thanked him for warning them, then they all quickly left the mansion. On the other hand, Ivan entered Oz's room along with his masked troops, who were tasked with punishing Oz. Then Ivan erased the memory of Oz and his other guards. Meanwhile, Minglu and Julian are hiding from the censorship squad whose job is to erase human memories, and their position is higher than Julian. One of the censorship guardians managed to find the two of them and detect Minglu's identity, so he wanted to erase Minglu's memory. Not long after Ivan came and told the censorship guardian to leave them, Ivan immediately beat Julian. Minglu tries to stop Ivan and explain what really happened to them. Luckily, Ivan listens to him. The crime measuring device was lost during the attack on the city of Feisty by Getta, so Ivan wanted to help Julian explain it to the system so that his sentence was cancelled by the supervisory system. But Julian must remain under Ivan's supervision so that Ivan will always be with Minglu and Julian. Then the system tells Ivan to carry out the next mission, but Minglu and Julian have to go with him. It turned out that Ivan got a mission to kill 13 criminals in their headquarters. When he got there, Ivan immediately attacked them all without a fight. While Minglu and Julian wait for Ivan in front of the headquarters, Julian explains to Minglu that Ivan is programmed to be able to kill and injure humans. After Ivan's mission is complete, he advises all the criminals to make them realize even consider him as their boss. Ivan asks Julian to go somewhere because the system gave him a new mission while being shown a photo of a boy named Okiki. But Ivan warns him to be careful in carrying out his mission this time because the system has sent 2 other ruthless guardians to complete the mission. Julian was reminded of a pair of twin guardians with the nicknames of Life and Death. While in the middle of the city, Okiki was running while shouting that his parent had returned. But the residents who saw him felt sorry because he had been doing this for the last 3 years after his parent disappeared. In the evening, Ivan, Julien and Minglu arrived before Okiki. Julien said that for the past 3 years, the system read that Okiki had been lying because he was always shouting around town saying that his parent had returned, so the system ordered Julien to be Okiki's guardian. Julien tried to read Okiki's past memories. At that time, his parent, who worked as a doctor, suddenly got a call from the hospital where they worked because there was a patient who needed surgery immediately. Before leaving for work, they promised Okiki to come home soon, but they haven't returned. The scene moves to the present. A hospital director is seen holding a photo of the Okiki family, and twin guardians are in the room. The following day, Okiki with Minglu, Ivan and Julien went to the hospital where his parent worked to find information about his parents' disappearance. Upon arrival, Ivan told the female receptionist they wanted to meet the hospital director. But she said that the director was busy, so they decided to split up and look for information independently. As Minglu and Okiki walked down the hall, a male hospital employee recognized Okiki's face and said that his parents had left something for him to give to Okiki. Then they both followed the man. Meanwhile, Ivan and Julien met one of the twin guardians named Yuri, who was in charge of supervising the hospital director. Still, Julien and Ivan felt suspicious, so they followed Yuri to the basement, and Yuri's twin named Kirara suddenly appeared and attacked Ivan. Yuri wanted Julien to step down as Okiki's guardian, but he refused because it was a task given by the system. She then felt angry and attacked him. Julien was confused as to why the two of them would help a criminal. The twin guardians are tasked with supervising the killers who are on the run. Their task is heavy because the fugitives do not want to surrender. They purposely help the killers so that the crime gauge becomes red lines so they can kill them or deliberately let them be eaten by evil karma. The hospital director was a serial killer, and Yuri said she just wanted to see how he would die. That was the reason Yuri protected him. Meanwhile, the man brought Minglu and Okiki to an empty building. Arriving there, the man took out a weapon to attack Okiki, but Minglu managed to block it and made the man faint. Surprisingly, a small amount of karma came from the man's body, and several people arrested Minglu and Okiki until they were brought before the hospital director. Minglu sees a parasitic karma in the director's body which is attracted to Minglu and wants him to be his servant. Okiki saw that his parent was there, but both of them lost consciousness, so when he hugged them, his mother instead hurt him. The parasite said that, in fact, the hospital director had died a year ago, but right now, his body is controlled by the parasite. He wants Minglu to be his servant because the parasite wants to rule Feisty using the people they control. The parasite lured Minglu to cooperate with him. In return, the parasite will give him everything he wants. In addition, Minglu has a different smell from other humans, so the parasite is attracted to him. Minglu immediately attacked the parasite, making him angry, and ordered Okiki's parents to catch it. Meanwhile, Yuri explains that Kirara can control poison, while she can heal any wound. But Ivan paid no heed to their words and began to change his form to fight against them. After changing his form, he continuously shot Kirara and Yuri with his bazooka, but because Kirara jumped in front of Yuri, and they merged into one. Julien, who saw the Guardians fight, felt insecure because his strength was very weak when compared to theirs. Then Mariani appeared in Julien's consciousness, and warned him to be careful of Ivan because Ivan could threaten both their existence. Before Julien realized it, Ivan had managed to beat the twin Guardians until they both fainted. Shortly after, Ivan and Julien took the twin Guardians up to the top of the tower to see the situation. They saw a lot of parasitic karma surrounding the hospital, so Ivan awakens Yuri and Kirara to help him. Because all this time, the twin Guardians did not know that the director was being controlled by parasitic karma. Even Yuri felt furious at having been tricked all this time. Ivan said they couldn't kill the parasites one by one, so they had to lure them to a place to fight there. Julien took out his Pinocchio doll to lure the parasites to go somewhere. Meanwhile, the twin Guardians followed the parasites when Julien called Minglu, but his cell phone couldn't be reached. Elsewhere, in the director's room, Minglu is fighting with some karma until he manages to come face to face with the parasite that controls the director. Even the parasite blocks Minglu's cell phone, so he can't communicate with his friends for help. Minglu says it's not a problem because he can face them alone. Then he threw his knife at the parasite until the parasite felt angry and changed its form into a big monster. Meanwhile, the two twin Guardians were battling the parasites outside the hospital building. However, Ivan, who watched their fight from the top of the building, realized that the more parasites he killed, the more powerful the remaining parasites would become. While in the hospital, Minglu continues to be chased by the parasitic king until he is caught, and will be made into a new body controlled by the parasite. But Minglu's body gave off a white light which made the parasite's body instantly disappear so that the other parasites also disappeared. Julien thought that the parasitic king had escaped, but according to Ivan, the parasite king had been defeated by someone. Then Ivan entered the hospital to investigate the matter and left Julien with Yuri and Kirara. Yuri and Kirara prepared to attack Julien for revenge when Ivan was gone. However, Julien warned them both that Ivan would punish them, but they didn't care and prepared to attack Julien. Suddenly they were both attacked with spears by a red monster. On the other hand, Minglu just woke up after being exhausted because he had expended all his strength and he hoped no one would see him. Then he saw that the parasitic king did not perish but transformed into a caterpillar. Minglu immediately caught it and put it in a jar. The parasite king warns Minglu that when he loses power, some of the parasites he previously controlled can form new forms and have their own consciousness. Even that parasite could become a new parasite king. Meanwhile, outside the hospital, the strong red monster tried to attack the twin guardians, but Julien blocked it. It turned out that the monster's strength was so strong that Julien's attacks didn't work against it. Suddenly Yuri, who had regenerated her body, attacked the monster from behind and managed to knock the monster down. She thanked Julien for buying the monster time so she could regenerate her body and then heal Carrara's and Julien's wounds. When the monster rose again, Yuri asked Julien and Carrara to attack the monster repeatedly and not have to think about what if they got hurt, because she will heal all kinds of wounds that they will receive. Then the three of them and Julien's Pinocchio teamed up to attack the monster. When they get injured, Yuri has prepared to heal it, so the fight continues. Julien feels insecure again because his strength is very weak when compared to Yuri. After that, Mariani's figure reappeared to incite him and said he was just a tool for them. But after winning later, the twin guardians will get the praise. Hearing those words, Julien immediately showed his strength. On the other hand, Minglu was on top of the building watching the guardians fight. He tried to help them with his power from above, because he saw that the guardians were already overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Yuri injected a poison that she took from Carrara's body into the monster, and Julien blew his Pinocchio until the monster burned. But the monster can regenerate the body indefinitely so it can continue to rise again. After that, Ivan came to shoot at the monster until he felt like there was another force helping him so he could eliminate the monster. After the incident, Ivan told a woman that he was suspicious of Minglu's powers and would investigate. But she reminded him not to forget his duty to investigate Julien. If it is proven that Julien is related to Mariani, he must kill him. After arriving at the apartment, Minglu asks Ivan why he is still considered a criminal by the system. Ivan replied that a fool would come who would help Minglu. Meanwhile, the parasitic king who managed to escape reported everything to Sharon, but she was angry that the actions of the parasites against the guardians could get her into trouble. Sharon punishes him as food for other karma until a new karmic figure is born. On the other hand, Minglu, who was with Julien, was visited by a llama and a male guardian named Cannon. After Julien saw Cannon, he immediately hugged him and asked his help for revenge because he had been beaten by several people. Cannon said he was helping a boy being beaten by thugs once. He gave courage to the boy until he challenged the thugs and was beaten by them. It turned out that the power transferred by Cannon could not enter the boy's body because he was so cowardly that he could not fight the thugs. After that, Cannon introduced himself as the boy's guardian from now on. Because Cannon's job is to protect cowards who are always afraid, so the system detects that fear as a crime. The boy was declared a criminal because he always followed a girl but did not dare to express his feelings to her. Cannon promises to help the boy tomorrow because now he has to go to Minglu's place to help him. After all, Julien has lost his crime gauge. On the other hand, Ivan had gone to investigate something. Likewise, Cannon asked Julien and Minglu for help finding the person in the photo he brought, because that person is the key to the success of his mission. Minglu thinks it is a photo of a woman, but Cannon replies that it was a photo of Minglu when he was hit by Pinocchio's curse. Just then, Minglu lied to Julien, so the curse happened. Minglu, who felt embarrassed, immediately ran from there. And that's when the cowardly boy saw Minglu and thought he was a woman, thus making him fall in love at first sight. Cannon asks Minglu to disguise himself as the woman again and meet the cowardly boy. Of course, it was rejected by him, but Cannon showed a lot of money in return, so Minglu was willing to help and even called Cannon as boss. The next day, the mission began. Minglu had disguised himself as a woman and met the cowardly boy. After that, 3 thugs come who will torment them. Cannon then encouraged him to show his courage in front of the woman, even though it was actually Julien who was not visible, and beat up the thugs. After that, the cowardly boy dared to invite Minglu to go with him to a restaurant. When Minglu got there, the cowardly boy told him that he had always been considered useless. Minglu then encouraged him to have confidence, and they parted ways. On the way home, Minglu asked Julien why Cannon was not affected by being 100 meters away from the boy. Julien explained that Cannon is a level 4 guardian who doesn't have to follow the rules, because the guardian is divided into 5 levels. He and the twin guardians are at level 2, Ivan is at level 3, while Cannon is at level 4, a guardian with rare abilities that can be developed to influence the city. But level 4 guardians couldn't fight effectively, so they had to cooperate with level 3 guardians to keep their positions safe. Therefore Cannon cooperates with Ivan. After that, there was his female friend, Cheng-Ru, who called Minglu to give him a leaflet. But when she saw Minglu dressed as a woman, Cheng-Ru misunderstood and immediately ran away from him. Arriving at the apartment, Canon gave money to Minglu for completing his mission. He saw a leaflet in Minglu's bag that Cheng-Ru had given him. The leaflet contained an appeal not to leave the house at night because someone with alatriophagy syndrome had killed many people and was still roaming the city of Feisty. Canon said that at the beginning of the construction of Feisty, many residents starved to death because the city did not have a large supply of food. But not all residents could get it when the city began to develop, and food supplies sufficed because the syndrome makes them cannibals. But the last syndrome sufferer died several years ago. At that time, an old man was being treated at the hospital trying to eat his own child, so he was shot by the police, and supposedly because of that person's death, the syndrome had disappeared from Feisty. In a dark place, a man eats a girl, saying he hates Feisty and the Guardians. Then he saw the silhouette of a woman who looked like Mariani and said she would soon come out of there to kill everyone. The following day, the thugs that Julien beat up yesterday came to look for the cowardly boy. They took him to the streets and beat him. Julien wanted to help him but was forbidden by Canon because this was the final test for the boy. When the thugs left, the boy got up and said he would fight them all, but one of the thugs said that he was a tough kid. Then the thugs decided to leave from there and left him. Canon then appears and says his criminal system will be abolished because he passed his final test. Shortly after, came a motorized man who tied the cowardly boy with iron chains and dragged him. Canon uses his power to summon the horse and chase the man. After that, he overtook the motorized man, blocked the road in front of him, and attacked him. Meanwhile, the cowardly boy had to be hospitalized for serious injuries. Canon, who felt he had to be responsible for the incident, looked for the perpetrator's whereabouts until he managed to find him. The perpetrator explained that he was ordered by his boss because he really hated the Guardians. Suddenly the man turns into a big monster and attacks Canon, but he manages to counterattack until the monster's arm is severed. After that, Canon arrested the perpetrator for interrogating him about his boss. Canon immediately called Ivan, who was investigating something in an abandoned hospital. He said that there was a man with the syndrome who managed to escape and lived to this day. In addition, he has the power of immortality so that it can change a person's form into a monster. The Guardians refer to the people with the syndrome as the Dame. Canon tells Ivan that this Dame seems to know Mariani, so he orders him to keep Julien from meeting the Dame. It turns out that Ivan is investigating Minglu in the abandoned hospital. On the other hand, Cheng-Ru, who was pasting flyers on the city walls, was suddenly surprised by Minglu's presence. Minglu said that he would help her, but suddenly they saw a shadow that turned out to be a monster eating its prey. After that, the monster saw Minglu and Cheng-Ru, so the monster attacked him and made a hole in the ground so that they both fell. Meanwhile, Julien, who had just arrived at the apartment, received a call from a man telling him that Minglu and Cheng-Ru were in danger, so he had to help them. But Julien didn't believe it, which made the man angry and used his power to hurt from a distance until Julien could feel pain. After that, Julien went to look for Minglu's whereabouts. On the other hand, Minglu and Cheng-Ru are still running from the monsters in a city sewer. Minglu tries to reassure Cheng-Ru that her father, who happens to be a policeman, will definitely find and help them. But she said that her father didn't care about her even when her mother was very sick and died in the hospital. Her father didn't come because he only cared about his work. Since the two of them were still talking, Minglu was caught off guard, so he was attacked by a monster and felt that this was the end of his life. After that, Cheng-Ru attacked the monster with the axe from Minglu, so the monster disappeared. Then came the other monsters who surrounded the two of them. As there was no other way, Minglu pulled Cheng-Ru over to the sewer. Meanwhile, Canon uses his strength to find Julien, who is looking for Minglu at the Dame's headquarters. Canon made many small mice look for Julien in the ditch until one of the mice managed to find him. The mouse asks Julien not to continue his search, but he is determined to find Minglu. It wasn't long before Canon got there too. On the other hand, the Dame smelled their arrival. He had waited for 70 years to take revenge until he had created thousands of monsters to attack Feisty. Meanwhile, Minglu and Cheng-Ru found a staircase leading to the top, but it was blocked by an iron door. Luckily, Minglu managed to help Cheng-Ru out of that door. But when he wanted to go out, the monsters came. Minglu told Cheng-Ru to go upstairs and ask for help, while he would face the monsters alone. Then Minglu remembers when Cheng-Ru protected him as a child when another child was bothering him. That's why he wanted to protect her now. When the monster was about to attack, Julien came and immediately killed all the monsters. But the Dane came there because he smelled Mariani's scent from Julien's body. The Dane told him that 70 years ago, he had taken control of the city of Feisty. However, two guardians arrived, who turned out to be Ivan and Mariani, and they messed up his first plan. The Dame attacked Julien and caught him, but Canon came and attacked the monster until Julien's hair tie was untied, so he looked very much like Mariani. Canon then remembers when Mariani became his mentor and when she massacred everyone, including her own students. Canon asked Julien to protect him while he gathered his strength. Meanwhile, Cheng-Ru arrives at the police station and she asks for help. However, she fainted before saying anything, so the policeman called her father and asked him to take Cheng-Ru to the hospital. At that time, her father is investigating a murder case committed by monsters near the city channel. Then a woman came along with a boy who said to the police that they would take over this case. Back in the fight, Canon uses his power to see the movements of all opponents so that he can guide Julien toward the monster and manages to slash it until the monster emits a poisonous green liquid. After that, Canon took Julien flying to the room's roof and asked him to make a shield. The dame made 2 leech monsters that attacked them from behind. Luckily, Julien managed to slash the leech monster, but another leech monster could attack Canon, so he ran out of energy and couldn't fight anymore. Canon finally releases his last power to be transferred to Julien so that his power is tripled. But the monster instead attacked Canon, who had no more power. Luckily, Minglu can save Canon and take him away from there. Canon immediately contacted Ivan, and Ivan informed him that the demolition team from the Randy division would soon be there, so he asked them all to leave the place. Meanwhile, Ivan is still investigating Minglu's past in a place called Black Water Street. There, he met a grandmother who told him the place had a fire 8 years ago. Then Ivan asked about Minglu's father, Wu Qua, but she was scared and ran away. The grandmother warned that if Ivan looked for Wu Qua, bad things would happen to him. She told him that 10 years ago, a beautiful woman with her 2 sons came to that place. Many men wanted to marry her because of her beauty, and she chose Wu Qua, who was a drunkard, to be her husband. After marriage, Wu Qua often tortured her, but the woman could not cry, until people think of her as a woman who has no soul. In addition, the 2 children witnessed her mother being beaten very calmly and did not cry either. Soon the woman fled from there and left her 2 children with Wu Qua. Reportedly, the first child grew up to be a good person and was well liked by local residents, while the second child grew up cruelly and often caused trouble. Until one day, the second child injured several residents by using his power, called black art, by the people. He was then beaten by Wu Qua and he sold the boy. After the child was taken away, a big fire broke out, killing many people. Meanwhile, Wu Qua and the first child disappeared. After the grandmother told the story, Ivan gave her a gold card containing money. But a woman shot the grandmother in the back and said Ivan was too good as a guardian. Back in the underground channel, Julien knew that the dame's real weakness was in his real body. After that, Canon immediately took him away because the system had sent a destroyer guardian there. The guardians were very cruel and had the heart to kill anyone, including the other guardians. Not long after, the 2 people who had met the police arrived before the dame. They said they would arrest the dame as the object of research. Then the dame attacks them both, but the boy can easily pierce the dame's body. When he was about to attack his real body, it turned out that the dame had already fled. While Ivan was already in the city center, the twin guardians called him and said they'd been told to help him. He then asked them to come to the sewer. The dame, who is on the run, remembers his past when he was killed by Ivan and Mariani and then resurrected by an organization called Genesis Star. It turns out Genesis Star wants to realize the dame's dream to expose the rottenness in Feisty to the residents. But just as the dame was about to arrive at the exit, Ivan suddenly appeared. The dame felt very angry, so he immediately attacked Ivan. But he managed to strike back until the dame said that he had already released thousands of monsters into the Feisty so that the truth of the city would be revealed. Ivan replied that they were not afraid because the city of Feisty already had security and systems to save the city from the disturbance of the monsters. It turned out that Ivan's words were true because when the monsters arrived in the middle of the city, the guardians were ready to destroy them all. Meanwhile, the destroyer guardian who was in the ditch took out a mass destruction stone named Aurora. Just by seeing the white light, the monsters were instantly annihilated. The dame was then captured by the destruction team while Ivan immediately left. On the other hand, Minglu and Julien, who had just arrived at the apartment, were surprised because the guardians had gathered at his apartment. Yuri informs that they have a mission to investigate an abandoned amusement park because many people have disappeared there. Meanwhile, the police were not allowed to investigate the place because it would be dangerous for ordinary people. So the city system ordered the guardians to investigate the place, and it turned out that the amusement park belonged to Ashurin. Ivan informs that the system has set Minglu free from criminal status, so his memory of the guardians will be erased. He did this on purpose to keep Minglu away from Julien. Hearing that, Julien ran and cried because he had already considered Minglu his friend. After that, Minglu approached Julien and thanked him for the memories so far. But it turns out that the one who answered Minglu's words was Mariani, who had taken over Julien's body. Marie says she had to show up because she needed Minglu's help. After all, Julien was going to get a task that would get him killed at the amusement park. Because there are insects that can kill anyone, Marie wants Minglu to help her. Because if Julien dies, she will also die, and in return, she will not erase Minglu's memory. Marie asks Minglu for help in finding Julien's whereabouts. If he doesn't come back in a few weeks, she says that she will find out who Minglu really is and leaves from there. The next day, the overseers prepare to go on their mission, while Minglu returns to his normal life. The moral that can be learned from this anime is that a crime can bring bad karma to a person's life, and even the negative aura around him also surrounds that person's body.